Welcome back to Dynamo's Dozen, the podcast that we bring you each and every week where we talk about whatever may be on our mind from sports, entertainment, pro wrestling, movies, music, muesli, and everything in between. Fresh socks and jocks, never forgetting the talc. I am your host, the shopkeeper, Niall Hogan. This week I am flying solo. Ian is away on holidays with the lovely Rachel in France, and we will be bringing you an Extreme Rules preview. We will also be looking back at the week in pro wrestling history and obviously talking about some notable birthdays as well. Well, they say what a difference a year makes, and it certainly does. If you remember back to this event last year, we had Turnbuckle Gate. Things were looking very bad with the old man still in charge. We were dealing with Turnbuckle Gate. It looked like an absolute disaster for Finn Balor. His career was kind of ebbing away. But now we have Triple H back in charge, and things are looking a lot more positive with a lot more WWE wrestling fans looking forward to these pay-per-views more every week. Also maintaining and growing their viewership and ratings, even in the face of the NFL being back, which is always a really, really good sign. This is your Extreme Rules preview. We will start not in any particular order, but we'll go down through each of the matches and give our thoughts and predictions on them. Of course, let us know your thoughts in the comments. As always, if you're watching the videos as well, hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to support the channel. We really, really appreciate it week on week as we bring you these pro wrestling shows. And let's begin. We will start with the SmackDown Women's Championship, which is Liv Morgan, the champion, versus Ronda Rousey. This has been an interesting one, really, but with the return of Charlotte at the pay-per-view or imminent, I don't think anything is going to change here. I think Liv Morgan will probably escape with the belt again. Charlotte might get involved or something like that as part of the angle, costing Ronda the match, which we will rekindle their feud probably and let Liv sail off into the sunset with the belt still. I'll get more into the other women's title match shortly, but I reckon Liv, I don't think they'll change both belts. So a little spoiler in the show at the moment for you. I think Bianca might be dropping the belt to Bailey. Hence the reason I think Liv might hang on to her belt with Charlotte returning. But sure to be a really, really good match. And Liv, of course, chasing that respect that she wants from Ronda Rousey, and Ronda Rousey not giving her any respect at all. Kind of selling the situation where she's levels below her and stuff like that, but yet Liv keeps on escaping with the belt. So sure to be an interesting match. My prediction is a win for Liv, with Charlotte probably getting involved. But again, get in the comments there and let us know what your predictions are for each of these matches. Next up, the Raw Women's Championship is a ladder match. Bianca Belair, the champion, versus Bailey. It was interesting to see. I was at Crown Jewel with Darren, of course, and we seen Bailey get the win pretty clean. So it was fairly interesting. But this sets up this match. And this is one where I think the belt will change hands. I think the belt's going to go on Bailey, and the introduction of the ladder match into this situation creates a situation where Bianca can drop the belt to Bailey, but still look pretty strong coming out of the match. So we shall see what happens there, but I'm pinning Bailey on that one. I'll leave the 5-pit one to last. The strap match between Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross. Again, an interesting one. I think Kross will probably win this one. After weeks of being attacked from behind, let's say, and we've seen Kross even at Crown Jewel kind of sitting front row and stuff like that with a little bit of distraction. McIntyre challenged Kross to a strap match. So basically, they could just beat each other up in the same sort of area, if you like. Not too sure. Some interesting promos and Karrion Kross leading into this and stuff like that, but I think Kross will get the win. And it kind of puts Drew on a little bit of a loss run, but I don't think it'll damage him too much. But I expect Karrion Kross to come out of this one. The next one up is the I Quit match between Edge and Finn Balor. This one has an interesting dynamic to it because you would never expect Edge to turn around and say, I quit. But I mean, potentially, if Beth Phoenix is in the front row, you could see Judgment Day getting involved in the situation either with Beth or with Rey Mysterio, where they threaten to do something pretty severe, causing Edge to have to say, I quit. I would expect Finn Balor to win this match. Because there's been talk at the moment as well that he's in line for a huge push and stuff like that. So, and rightly so, and rightly deserved. So I would expect Finn Balor to come out of this one pretty strong, getting Edge to say, I quit. But not based on the match, more based on maybe some outside stuff from Judgment Day. So it should be an interesting one, and certainly should be a real good match. Really looking forward to this one. Edge versus Finn Balor. Absolutely quality. Let's get into the fight pit match. The fight pit match, Seth Rollins versus Matt Riddle, with the introduction of the one and only Daniel Cormier in there as the referee, special guest referee. This is an interesting one because if you remember back in your history to WrestleMania 31, Daniel Cormier is a huge Seth Rollins fan, and you would have seen him at WrestleMania 31 when Seth cashed in. He absolutely lost his mind. And for weeks and weeks after that and all, he just couldn't stop talking about the atmosphere at WrestleMania. He couldn't talk about like the video of him going absolutely bananas is absolutely electric and stuff like that. So to say that Daniel Cormier um, is a wrestling fan is an understatement, and a Seth Rollins fan is even a further understatement, which begs the question: will Daniel Cormier be able to act down the middle on this and fair? I'm not too sure. And obviously, with Matt Riddle being in there and having his UFC background as well, it creates an interesting dynamic here. But with Riddle being on that loss and stuff like that, and especially the one he took at Crown Jewel, sorry, not Crown Jewel, Clash of the Castle, it creates an interesting dynamic when Seth Rollins was going in on him and getting very personal about Riddle's family and all that kind of stuff. You would expect it being a fight pit and Matt Riddle's UFC background that Riddle would come out on top. But the introduction of Daniel Cormier might be that equalizer, being such a Seth Rollins fan and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. That leads us to the final match so far on the card, the good old fashioned Donnybrook match between the Brawling Broods versus Imperium. Now we know on Friday night on SmackDown that Gunther's going to face Sheamus with the IC belt on the line. I don't expect the title to change hands, but I don't expect either within the space of 48 hours for Sheamus to take 2 L's. And especially after the L that he took as well at Clash at the Castle. So I would expect this to be the Brawling Brutes going over, but should be really, really interesting. This is probably going to be the best match on the card, I think, in terms of a good old-fashioned beat up sort of hard hitting match. Anyone who's seen the Clash at the Castle will see what these two boys can do to each other. And then when you factor in the other four, it's going to be very, very interesting. And we seen the pictures and the videos after that match. Both boys were pretty beat up after it and stuff like that. So this should be like a good old fashioned, hard hitting match, where they've called it a Donnybrook, a good old fashioned Donnybrook match. So it's leaning probably in this one towards Sheamus and the Brawling Brutes. But it'll be interesting to see. I don't expect Gunther, as I said on Friday night, to drop the belt to Sheamus. But I don't expect Sheamus to drop 2 L's in 48 hours either. So it should be really, really interesting. But I think this might be the match that steals the show. So that has been your breakdown on Extreme Rules. If you want to let us know what your predictions are in the comments, and let us know what you think about the matches and the build-ups and stuff like that. Are we reading into it? Will Beth Phoenix be ringside? Charlotte's return, and of course we have to talk about the imminent return potentially of Bray Wyatt with all this white bunny stuff and all this kind of stuff going on. And we seen clips there the other day of a Fiend, someone in a Fiend mask going past the background of Alexa Bliss and all this, and all these QR codes and stuff like that, very much leading towards hints of all tweets from Bray Wyatt and various things like that. But surely Bray Wyatt and the Fiend are due to return at Extreme Rules. They can't draw it out any further, I would imagine. The question is, what version of him returns? Is it going to be the Fiend? Is it going to be Bray Wyatt? Could we see a Wyatt family kind of construction kind of thing? What's going to happen? Very exciting to hear that he's coming back, and again probably demonstrates the influence that Triple H is having in there at the moment now with the old man gone. I think if the old man was still there, I don't think you'd be hearing very much about any of these returns and the other noise coming from the other side in AEW about certain individuals who want to return now that the old man is gone. So yeah, it should be very interesting. Certainly, what a difference a year makes compared to last year's one, which was very, very poor, very, very down, badly booked, and all that turnbuckle stuff and all was just terrible, you know. Let's get into the week in wrestling history, and we have some interesting stuff here. Just want to get into this now and get it back for you. Just 1 second. There we go. The week in wrestling history. Let's start. We go back to 1991. WWE presented their first event from the historic Royal Albert Hall in London, England. The event was headlined, of course, by the 20-man Battle Royal, and the winner taking home the Royal Samovar Trophy. The match was won, of course, by the British Bulldog, the late Davy Boy Smith. Had the pleasure of meeting his daughter Georgia over at Clash of the Castle. She's an absolute gem, and she was done out in all the British Bulldog stuff and had the hair beaded up and all that. Looked really, really cool. But that was 1991. We move forward to 1999. WWE circulated a press release to announce that writers Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara were leaving the company to become head writers for rivals WCW. What a moment that was at the time, if you remember back to 1999. These guys were writing some unbelievable stuff, but headed off to the competition. And the rest is really history, isn't it, when you think about it? 2016, in the main event of Raw from the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California, Sasha Banks defeated Charlotte Flair to win the Raw Women's Championship. 2016, 6 years ago. How time flies. 1997, hours before he was due to appear at In Your House Bad Blood, Brian Pillman was found dead in his St. Louis hotel room. He was 35 years old. What a loss to the wrestling business he was. What a performer. What a promo man. What a loose cannon. But very, very sad. Absolutely. 1999, at a SmackDown taping in Uniondale, New York, we have Draws here who had the match with D'Lo Brown, and this was the one he got injured in following an accident in the match with D'Lo, and the injury led to Drozdov's permanent paralysis. A sad day in wrestling, a huge accident. Very sad, really, for the performer at the time and stuff like that. So, yeah, 1999. 2004, Carlito Caribbean Cool. I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool. Made his WWE debut on SmackDown. In his first match that night, he defeated John Cena to win the United States Championship. This is how much the company believed in this guy. And of course, we remember Carlito going on and tagging with Chris Masters and going around spitting the apple at people and all that kind of stuff. And it was like a breath of fresh air at the time. He was wearing all the coloured stuff with the apples on it and all that kind of stuff. But this was a real show of confidence from the company at the time. The United States belt going on him on his debut against John Cena. Not often most people can say that they have a win over John Cena, and especially in some sort of a title match on their debut. 1997, in one of the most controversial moments in the history of Monday Night Raw, WWE conducted an interview with Melanie Pillman that aired less than 24 hours after the passing of her husband, Brian. You look back on this now with terrible taste and real sadness and stuff like that. The lady having to go out there and give an interview 24 hours after her husband had passed away. Pretty poor taste, the one that leaves a sour taste in your mouth when you look back on that section of WWE history. 1999, another sad day, another sad year, and a sad day in this week where Gorilla Monsoon passed away due to complications brought on by his diabetes. He passed away at 62 years of age, one half of one of the greatest color commentary teams, I would imagine, with Bobby the Brain Heenan. And last week we spoke on about his last week back in the year was the debut when they got together for the first time as color commentators and stuff like that. Let's go on to 2000. If you remember Rikishi, he did it for The Rock. Remembers well, after months-long investigation by Commissioner Mick Foley to find out who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin at the Survivor Series the year before, it was revealed on Raw that the culprit was Rikishi, who claimed to have done it to benefit his cousin, The Rock. And you remember The Rock doing promos later on after that when he's taking the rip out of Rikishi, go, I did it for The Rock and all that. So that was an interesting one. A little bit sooner than that, 2006. Kurt Angle made his highly anticipated TNA wrestling debut when he confronted Samoa Joe to conclude an episode of Impact. And of course, we all remember the headbutt and the blood everywhere at that point. And of course, Kurt Angle went on to have quite the career in TNA. And Joe, of course, by working with him in these programs, was elevated into superstardom as well. So there's some of your week in wrestling touching on this week. Some sadness in there as well, but some interesting stuff as well. Let's get into some notable birthdays. This week, in terms of birthdays, John Morrison, 1979. Danny Basham, one half of the Basham brothers, 1977. Bullet Bob Armstrong, all the way back in 1939. Chris Abyss Park, Abyss, of course, 1973, a year younger than myself. Bobby Fulton, 1961. Linda McMahon, 1948. Chief J Strongbow, 1928. How could we forget Chief J Strongbow? Terry Runnels, 1966. Dixie Carter, 1964. Barry Darsow, 1959. Had the pleasure of meeting him back at WrestleCon at WrestleMania in Dallas this year as well. Absolute gent. Bruno Sammartino, 1935. The Miz, 1980. A mere baby compared to these guys. Daniel Puder, 1981. How could we forget Daniel Puder? Stevie Richards, 1971. Of course, the late great Eddie Guerrero, 1967. And Rockin' Robin, 1964, who we learned all through Dark Side of the Ring and stuff like that. She was the sister of Jake the Snake Roberts. That rounds out your notable birthdays for this week and rounds out the show. Quite a short one this week because I'm on my own. But of course, leave your comments there. Let us know your predictions for Extreme Rules. Let us know what you think of the situation with the Fiend and Bray Wyatt and all these cryptic clues that are coming through and stuff like that. Is he going to show up at Extreme Rules? Also, let us know what your thoughts so far as on Triple H and how he's getting on in his new role, heading up the company basically, and doing all that great work with evolving the company, let's say, but maybe not evolving, maybe reverting back. Of course, before you leave, we want to like, we want to share, we want a subscription, hit that bell notification, and we will be looking at some stage this week as well at 25 years of Kane, the Big Red Machine, as WWE celebrated this week. Until next time, I am your host, the Shopkeeper. This has been Dynamo's Dozen, and we are over and out.